Hey the berries, welcome to Bizzleberry's support tier list for patch 25.04. They've changed the way again they have titled the patches, so the one that's coming out on the 20th of February 2025 is 25 for the year, so 2025-25, and 04 being the fourth patch, so 25.04 patch. The last time we did a tier list was for the season release. I'm actually pretty happy with the tier list that I did in January for the overview of the entire season. There have been individual nerfs though now to enough champions and items for me to kind of come back to and reevaluate the tier list. There have been some minor adjustments here and there. We're going to go through the patch notes for this patch and go through a brief overview of what's happened in previous patches that I haven't covered, and give you the conclusion of what's strong and what's not. Bear in mind, in my tier list, it's kind of catered to people that are very new to the game, all the way up to around about platinum, low emerald. Once you get past that point, hyper carry focuses on like champions like Lulu and stuff like that, excel a lot more. But yeah, let's just jump into it. So in this patch, we've got a Kog'Maw nerf, a Lulu nerf. We've got buffs to Ashe, Nautilus, and Teemo jungle. So there's a Teemo one there, but they haven't indicated that's for jungle only, which I don't know why. But yeah, that's a jungle Teemo buff. Also in this patch, there are various item nerfs, really. So most of these items are getting nerfed. Like Abyssal Mask, for example, is a pretty good support tanking item that is getting nerfed. If I was playing something like a Leona, for example, I'd be taking that sometimes second item to enhance my magic damage on my team, but that's getting a slight nerf. Merc Treads, I believe, is getting buffed. Steel Caps are getting nerfed, and Symbiotic Souls are getting slightly buffed. But let's focus on the champions that we actually care about. There aren't that many in this actual patch. Elise support, one of the things, is getting nerfed. Now, Elise support was deemed strong by Riot. I think this was largely primarily played by people, a few niche people in high ELO, like Diamond Plus. Like I came across it maybe my first time, I think, yesterday, and that was my game to get to Master, which I'll be posting up onto YouTube soon. So you'll find out if the Elise support managed to stop me from getting Masters or not. But yeah, it seemed like she was doing quite a lot of damage into like the late game. I wasn't that scared of it early. I think the gimmick here with Elise support is like the little spiderlings can block skill shots. So if you're playing something like a Thresh or a Blitzcrank, and you're up against the Elise, that's the main thing you're gonna have to worry about. Is those spiderlings being super annoying. So yeah, but it's various like nerfs and stuff. I don't really know enough about Elise support. I've never tried it, but it's already been kind of like nerfed, so I think they're worried about it maybe in pro play. Hui is getting a slightly nerfed, so you might see him less as AP carry. Callisto is getting slightly nerfed as well, but I think that's primarily maybe for the top lane. Kog'Maw slight damage nerf on his Q on base early. And Lulu, as kind of expected, because in the previous patch they made it so that they upped the attack speed cap on marksman champions. I believe it went from 2.5 to 3, so 3 attacks per second, up from 2.5, which in the late game can be pretty insane when you're especially thinking of champions like Kog'Maw and Jinx and Twitch. And Lulu having an attack speed steroid with her W, they're tuning that back down slightly to kind of like de-escalate that a tiny bit. And then her E as well is going down slightly in the later points for both base damage and shield. So little minor like late game nerfs really for Lulu, which is welcome. Lulu's kind of a weird champion. I personally don't like playing her much, but the main reason for that is that because you're so tied to your AD carry. Like if you're playing with a Twitch or Kog'Maw, a Jinx, those kind of champions. And if they're playing really well, then Lulu, you know, honestly, I don't get that much enjoyment from just buffing up my AD carry and letting them do the carrying. But like Lulu enhances that a lot. But if your AD carry is terrible, then Lulu really does kind of feel really meh to play. So that's like the downside. And honestly, in the low ELO brackets, no one really knows how to play AD carry properly. In my opinion, up until gold, if you're playing marksman, unless you're playing a caster AD carry, then you should probably be playing AP carries like the Hui and stuff like that, and Ziggs and things. They're much easier to play, and you'll find your win rate go up much higher. And yeah, Lulu in the lower ELOs, I think is a. I was gonna say it's kind of troll. It's not intentionally trolling, but it's like you're putting so much reliance on your AD carry doing the legwork for you that it's like it just feels really meh. Male support is something that I covered. I was actually reading a couple of Reddit threads the other day about people saying, "Oh, Mel's not support. You know, she's just another Lux or Zyra." Like, the people really hate people playing AP carries as well as support, basically. I don't really see what the big deal is. Okay, the AD carry isn't getting 300 gold sometimes. They're getting 150 gold from a kill, but like they're getting money that they might have not got otherwise because you're managing to secure kills in bot lane. So I don't really see what the problem is, to be honest. But yeah, she was played like a Lux because I mean, she still is. E is a multi-bind, similar to Lux, but has infinite targets. So in theory, you could root 5 people with Mel. And then you got the Q poke as well. With the changes in this, I was mixing up the builds slightly. I was primarily going like an Emax root build. Against like double poke, like double huge poke, like say you're up against like a Caitlyn or Xerath, it's going to be quite difficult for you to land your root. So I was opting into doing Qmax with Tier. And then going into Xerath and stuff like that. With the nerf to Q though, I'm sure that's going to feel horrible. I think it's just going to be, if you're going to play her as support, I think it's like 100% Emax now every single game. They did nerf the root duration on the earlier points as well. Once you get to 4 points in your E, it's going to start feeling a little bit more normal. They did up the damage on it slightly, so you might notice some slight damage increase. But they did nerf her Q and her W, which were her most, honestly, her strongest things. Like the W as well, the duration has been reduced down from the spell reflection from 1 second to 0.75. And also they've nerfed the reflected damage on later points. So, yeah, I mean, they've upped the damage a little bit on her ulti, but I don't think that's that big of a deal, honestly. So she's definitely been nerfed. She's definitely gonna feel worse to play. Is she gonna be worth playing support? I don't know. I feel like they went too hard on these nerfs, honestly. We'll have to see. I don't think many people will be playing Mo anymore. I think the hype of her has now died down. I think she's not fun to play against, that's for sure, and that's why they nerfed her Q, nerfed her range and stuff. I never really felt she was OP. Like sometimes you got some really nice like reflections on her W, but I don't know. I feel like she's just gonna feel like kind of meh now. She's kind of like in Morgana land now, where her kit's just gonna feel kind of meh. You're just throwing out a binding, and then that's about it, really. That's basically Morgana in a nutshell. So yeah, I don't know. Minor thing here, Nautilus did get buffed this patch, much needed buff. I think this will help out lower ELOs a little bit. Nautilus had one of the worst win rates out of all the supports. I think Pyke might have actually had a slightly lower win rate than him, but like then it was like Nautilus out of like legit supports. This is much needed for sure for a long time. Nautilus is looking a little bit scary in those early engages. Plus 15 damage on Q early is nothing to like kind of shrug at. Usually you need to do like 2 or 3 engages in lane anyway to try and kill somebody, because they'll use like flash and heal and stuff. So amounting to an extra like 45 damage from engages is pretty good. So I think they could maybe like buff him up a tiny bit. I don't think this is going to make him like, you know, oh my god, scariest thing ever. But I think they maybe need to look at upping damage on something like random, like his E maybe slightly or something, just a tiny bit more, or maybe give him like +3 base armor or something like that, or could be a bit crazy saying this, but maybe like +5 movement speed. Just something like that, I feel like is needed. I think this is like a good start, but I think he still needs a little bit more. Teemo buff to jungle Teemo. Pink jungle were complaining that his clear was really, really bad. So that's why he got buffed, because he got nerfed last patch. Items, this is like more of the bigger thing this patch. So as we are talking about Abyssal Mask earlier, so they're nerfing the magic resistance on Abyssal Mask. I mean, it's not exactly a cheap item to buy anyway, but you still will be buying that if you're a tank and you have lots of magic users on your team. For the aura to do, I think it's 12% more magic damage to enemy targets that you're nearby. So I don't, like, we're fine with Abyssal being a fairly rare purchase. I mean, if that's true, I think people are playing it wrong. I think there's a very good case of buying Abyssal Mask second item almost every game, as long as you've got magic damage to users on your team, to be honest. To be able to utilize the Abyssal Mask, I think 12% extra damage, magic damage for your entire team, debuffing the enemy is pretty huge. And it's not just like your team, is also yourself as well. Like lots of tanks do magic damage as well. So, yeah. Fimbulwinter's getting nerfed. Doesn't I think Taric that might affect actually. I think Taric was a Fimble user. Don't play much Taric. I know Taric's win rate's pretty high, so his win rate might go down slightly because if it's 30% less shielding in average, that is a decent notch down. So keep an eye on that, Taric users. Heart's still getting nerfed. I think if you bought Heartsteel when playing support, I think that's kind of troll. But yeah, even more troll if you buy it now. Merc treads are getting reduced in gold and cost to 12.50, which is really nice. There's definitely times where I've been like, oh, I could get merc treads if I wanted to, but I can afford steel caps now. So I'm like, okay, I might as well just buy the steel caps because I can get the steel caps. So yeah, I think this is a very welcome change to the merc treads gold reduction been coming in for sure. Steel caps getting left. So the main theme from this is that AD carries are going to be doing a little bit more damage in the mid to late game, I think. So AD carries are basically being given some extra loving this patch. Nothing else really to add from this patch specifically. We'll just jump straight into the tier list. I think that's what you guys have been waiting for. So this is like tier 4, tier 5. This is like the bottom of the barrel. Tier 5 is just like random land. Lots of champions there that you might have considered playing off meta. Behind my head is Jarvan and Trundle. Nothing else really there to note. Tier 4, we mentioned a couple of champions that aren't doing well. Nautilus is still in tier 4, even with the Q buff. I mean, he's a stronger position in tier 4. I would probably put him maybe in tier 5, honestly. I was considering putting Pyke in tier 5 as well. But I don't think they're quite there yet, even though they haven't got like the greatest win rates right now. I think if you're a person banning Pyke and you're really scared of Pyke and find Pyke annoying, I would actually suggest not to. Just because the Pyke's win rate is like so bad right now, and I feel like people in Silver don't know how to play him actually properly, that it's not worth it. It's not worth the ban. Like if you're I would ban something else. Personally. Even the Blitzcrank kit isn't even worth banning, in my opinion. I think these hook champions are still not as scary. Particularly in like that silver, gold, yellow. Thresh, I will say though, he did get buffed. I think it was last patch. He is doing quite well in the high yellow brackets. I mean, to be honest, I could have maybe put him in tier 3 for this one. But as you get high, he's actually like closer to tier 2. So if you were looking at learning a hook champion, and wanting to, you know, your expectation is I'm going to hit plat or emerald, like, you know, and you want to learn how to play a hook champion, like Thresh is probably the best bet that you have right now. That the reason why Thresh is always relatively low in the tier list, as someone who, I've been playing him a fair amount in the last couple of patches since he got buffed, is because no one clicks the lantern. And that's such a big thing of his kit. Like his lantern is such a big thing, and if you're relying on people to click on something and they don't do it, or they just don't know the interaction, or they don't see it, that happens in Diamond, but that also happens a lot more in Bronze and Silver. And the expectation of you going in, you know, you throwing your lantern and then hooking yourself in, and then you're in there by yourself. Your person that you wanted to hook in didn't join in, and that's how you die, and it ends up putting your whole team in a worse off situation just from that. It happens way more. So if you're playing in silver elo, I'd recommend using your lantern as more of hoping to save someone rather than using it as like a potential engage tool. So yeah, be wary of that. Going up into tier 3. Tier 3, I think, is one of the thinnest it's ever been since I've made these tier lists. It's very skinny tier 3. We've got some champions there that I think they're viable if you one-trick them and you want to learn them. I think Elise is still going to be fine. I think Mel is still going to feel okay. I still feel like she's stronger than Morgana still, but not by much. There's lots of kind of quirky champions in tier 3. Karma, for example, like really strong in lane but falls off massively later on into the game. Rel, Maokai, Tom Kench, Renata, Bard, the Elise, I'd say are all champions that can be okay if you know what you're doing on them. If you don't know what you're doing on them, I wouldn't recommend playing them. It's just because their learning curves are quite high, and some of those champions, like the Rel and the Maokai and the Tom Kench, like you're going in and generally don't have an easy way to get out. So you have to be knowing what you're getting yourself into in pretty much every engage in order to get the best possible outcome. And if you're like looking at this tier list, like, oh, I'm learning how to play support for the first time, there's a lot in tier 3. Actually, I wouldn't even bother. I'd try and find something easier in the tier 2 or tier 1 that you might have already been playing. So going up into tier 2, got a lot of strong contenders here. I've actually moved like the team up from tier 3 to tier 2. There was a Zazax nerf, which is like the support item upgrade, the then I have to describe it, like the magic damage proc item after you complete the World Atlas. That did get slightly nerfed, but because Teemo is such a rat, he's causing a lot of frustration in games, and yeah, he's pretty fun. He's really, really fun to play. Also, with auto attacking being more of a focus in the next, you know, as the AD carries have been slowly getting buffed, Teemo blind can be absolutely massive. So yeah. One thing I'm not sure about at the moment is Tarek because of the Fimbulwinter thing. I still feel like he's probably going to be doing okay. Tarek is one of those weird ones where there are 2 champions at the moment. One of them's in tier 1 and Tarek. So these 2 champions are like stealth strong, right? Like no one really plays them, but their win rates are very high, and they go under the radar a lot. I'd say this is like the first indirect nerf to Tarek as this Fimble. So we'll see where he is after the nerf. It sounds like a substantial nerf to Fimbulwinter, because he really does need a tier, because he just chug through mana a lot, spamming his Q in team fights, like the auto Q, auto Q. It does use a lot of mana, and you do need a tier for that. Lulu's still tier 2, even though I recommend not necessarily playing her. I still feel like she's going to be quite annoying. If you're in bronze, I probably would avoid playing Lulu. If you're in gold, you might want to start thinking about it. Plat, sure. That's when your AD carriers are going to start getting a bit better, and you're going to get more value from playing a Lulu. Hard engage wise, I think Leona is... I think win rate, she's slightly underperforming. But with tank items going down, she's still going to be one of the stronger tanks to play. Like a little bit of resistance here, knocked it off here and there, because she gets so much from Aftershock and her W. I still feel like she's going to feel pretty tanky a lot of the time in fights. So yeah, tier 2, but probably like a lower tier 2. Poppy is another one that no one really kind of plays. I think she is strong. I don't play her personally. I don't see her a lot. But I think in the right cases against anti-dash, like with her anti-dash, has potentially a lot of value. It's just that no one really like plays her. But if you want to learn like an off-meta champion, I think Poppy is like one of the ones where you could look into doing it. And I think Senna's been doing stealthy, like doing okay. I did cover a Dark Harvest build on Senna where you go like Hubris and boost of swiftness and Manamune. That's it, Manamune. So you start off getting the tier early, the Hubris, Manamune into like a Zeal item or a utility item like a Black Cleaver or a anti-heal item after that. Actually felt really, really good. So that's something to look into, particularly if you're coming from like AD carry background into support. I think Senna is actually like a really good kind of like introduction into the support role from an AD carry perspective. And then going into tier 1. I mean, some of those have been there for a little while. But yeah, so you got the Milio, people might be a little bit surprised by, Sona, Janna, Nami, and Zyra. So before this patch, I would have actually said Mel AP was the strongest. Now she's got nerfed quite a bit. I would say she's not so much. Zyra is kind of the clear winner for me in terms of if you want to play AP right now. I think Teemo is a close second, and then maybe the Vel'Koz third. So if you want to play AP, if you want to be like, I'm sick of my AD carry being trash, I'm going to Unga Bunga carry everything. If you're in that kind of mental mindset, just bang out some Zyra games. Would probably still run Arcane Comet even though Dark Harvest and Electrocute got buffed. If you were going to go into Domination, I'd say Electrocute is probably slightly better than Dark Harvest. Yeah, I personally would do Electrocute. Now, you know, we talk about Nami and the Janna and the Sona a lot, and a lot of these tier lists, so you guys are probably sick of me talking about them, but yeah, they're all good right now. I'd say Janna's probably fallen off ever so slightly, but Nami and Sona are very good still. But Milio is one of the stealth ones that no one's really kind of kept their eye on properly. His shield is as strong as Lulu's shield, but he has 2 charges of it. His W extends range of your AD carries, and you're going to see more AD carries for sure this patch. His Q has a decent disengage, and then his ulti also is a generic get out of jail card for everyone on your team. That's like the main thing that Lulu doesn't have. So if you're thinking about, for example, if you're up against like Twitch Lulu, how are you going to stop them from winning? Well, you just dump everything on the Twitch, right? And try and kill the Twitch. So that usually involves like whacking loads of stuns down, those kind of stuff. While if you're playing against Emilio, that job is actually twice as hard because he can cleanse out those stuns initially, and he gives your AD carry tenacity on top of that. So the only thing that he doesn't provide that Lulu does is, so it's a different kind of attack speed steroid. So he doesn't give like the AD carry attack speed unless he's got an Ardent, but it gives him attack range, which in some cases is a lot stronger, especially if like your AD carry is like running a rapid fire cannon as well. That initial hit is going to be like crazy. But if you're like imagining in a team fight where everyone's jumping your Twitch, you're using your Lulu ult to like bounce them off, but it doesn't really give much chance really of the Twitch to be able to reposition. Whereas if they're jumping onto your AD carry and you're playing Milio and doing that initially with stuns, the Twitch is then able to very quickly then reposition immediately afterwards, rather than being on the same central spot and being able to be lined up for crowd control still. The only way you can get around that a little bit with Lulu is going for Michaels. But then you got the added advantage of like Milio doesn't have to go Michaels, and Milio gives the person tenacity for a little bit afterwards as well. So if any other crowd control layers on top of that, then it's only going to last a fraction of the time as well. So yeah, Milio's like really under the radar. He's flying under right now, stealth. No one's really kind of like looked at him at all. I don't know if I've even played against Milio in the last few weeks in high elo, but yeah, I guarantee that he's something you should look into playing if you are thinking about playing enchanters and you don't really want to play Sona, Janna, or Nami, or just getting sick of them. So yeah. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed Tierlist 25.04. Yeah, I've been streaming every single day pretty much. And thank you to everyone that's been doing my new sponsorship at the moment. We've got a Candy Crush Saga sponsorship up there. If you want to get the link, then I'll post it in the YouTube comments under below. We've already got a lot of people that have been joining in on that. And thank you very, very much to everyone that's been doing that. That's a mobile only sponsorship. And if you have played Candy Crush before, when you do download the game, sweet. Oh, thank you, Ace, for hitting level 15. If you do download the game, you get the option to, do you want to get, let me hide that, otherwise it's going to keep going off. You get the option to go back to your previous kind of, like how you did it previously if you were playing Candy Crush, or you can start fresh. If you start fresh, then you count as a new person. And there are goals I put up on the Discord, how much money I earn, depending on how much you earn, what level you hit inside the game. So yeah, it's a really great way to support what I'm doing for free, and you get to play a game. You know, everyone's heard of Candy Crush, so yeah, I'll put the link in the, I don't know, I'll pin it as a comment if you want to help. But all the information's on the Discord, on the announcement channel. There's loads of information in terms of, like, you know, if you want to see how much I earn from these kind of sponsorships and all that kind of stuff, then yeah, all there. All right, guys, take care. Hope the tier list helps, and yeah, I'll try and, I won't do these every single patch, I don't think, like I used to. I think I'll only do them once I feel like there's enough to kind of give you guys an update on. But yeah, that's basically your February update. Bye bye.